Look, sometimes we all have slow starts and we can drop a few games without even realizing it. If you find yourself 2-0 down in sets or in a really bad situation, that doesn't mean the match is over yet. Oftentimes we do actually lose in this situation because we just get too caught up in the moment and just struggle to handle the pressure. When you find yourself 2-0 down in a 5-setter or 3-0 down in a 7-setter, your brain just gets filled with negative thoughts and what might happen if you lose. There is a solution, however, and this solution is used by pretty much every player at the highest level. Look, it's not as easy as it sounds, but the way to climb back into a game, go from 2-0 to 2-2, is to take your attention off the game or the set score and bring your attention to the current point. This is why you always hear top level pro coaches shout to their players, next point, next point. They don't want their players to think about what's happened before or what's going to happen after. It's very difficult, but you have to think tactically instead of emotionally. Think about where you're going to serve, where the ball's going to come back, and how you're going to attack and win this point. Look, I'm not a philosopher and I don't want to sound cheesy, but there's no point worrying about the score because you can't control the past. You can't control what's already happened in the game. And there's also no point worrying about what's going to happen if you lose because you also can't control the future. You can only control your present, the present point, the point that you're in right now. The way you come back is by playing for individual points, giving your 110% to every individual point. Every single point should have its own plan for how it's going to be won. Then you'll find that once you get your head down and focus on the point at hand enough times, you might eventually find yourself in a good position. You might find yourself at 2-all. I always found it really hard to perform if I focused on anything else but the current point in really tense situations. Like for example, I don't know if it was a quarter or a semi-final, but I was 2-0 down and all I could think about was my dad's reaction if I lost because it was a pretty important tournament and I think it dictated whether I got into the state team or not. Forget about the situation you're in. Just focus on the task you have at hand. And your task is to win the next point. Then hopefully, once the score tips level, all you have to do is stay focused and let the momentum guide you to victory. Momentum is very real, especially in table tennis, 1v1 sports. Because if you go 2-0 down and find yourself back up to 2-2, your opponent is going to be really demoralized and unhappy. They're going to be really disappointed, nervous, and tentative because all they're thinking about is the outcome of the match and what their friends might say. Oh, dude, you were 2-0 up. How did you not win that game? Obviously, most good friends won't react like that, but humans have those anxious thoughts and it's hard to suppress them sometimes. One of the most difficult things in table tennis is to go 2-0 up, then have your opponent come back to 2-2, then win 3-2. It requires a lot of mental strength to stay focused and play well when your opponents come back in that sort of fashion. But yeah, that's my guide to coming back in important games. What I do in my most tense situations when I'm 2-0, 3-0 down, this is how I go about it. And I'm not going to lie to you, it doesn't always work. I might get one set back, it might go 2-1, and then they just win the fourth set. It doesn't always work out for you, but this way of thinking gives you the best chance you have.